The main thing to remember for the pen tool is using the pen tool to either add or delete anchor points, and if you need to change those anchor points, you got the convert anchor point tool that you can also use. Clicking and dragging to make them curved, and clicking again to dropping off a curve. One of the exercises I want you to do today is this coin roundup. I thought this was pretty cool. I made this a while back. How many of y'all played Super Mario Brothers? Okay, how many of y'all played Super Mario Brothers before Nintendo 64? Okay, we got a couple of cool people in here. Alright, side-scrolling Super Mario Brothers before it was changed out. Yeah. Okay, with this one, essentially what you're going to do is go through the entire level collecting all the coins, just like Mario Brothers is regularly played. Choose a pen tool. Make sure your fill color is turned off to none, so all we're working with is just a stroke color. And I usually change it up to red. And so with these, you'll just click on the individual coins, and you can see it'll follow the track. It doesn't have to be 100%, so if it's off by a little bit, that's totally okay. These are pretty easy, but then of course you're going to get to a curved one. So with these, you would click and drag, and you try to match up your line as much as possible, and then click again. And it'll finish that out. If it's off by a little bit, like I said, I'm not too worried about it. Click and drag. Now with this one, if I clicked again, of course it's going to, you can't see it too well, but it is a little bit curved. So I'll try again. I'll just click on this to close it off, and then click to that one. Same way for up here. Click and drag, click again, and click. One thing I didn't mention is if you accidentally click on the wrong spot, how did you move a shape around if you needed to move it around? Huh? Spacebar. You can do the same thing with the pen tool. Holding down your spacebar can move around the point of a line that you're creating. So if I clicked up here, obviously that's the wrong line. I should have clicked right there to redraw it. Basically, you're going to go through the entire world practicing making lines. Very simple, very easy until you get to the very end. As soon as you're done, just save this file and you're going to upload it to Moodle. And that's it for using the pen tool. The next ones are using the brush tools. And the brush tools and the pencil tool are very similar, but there's one major difference. I'm going to show the pencil tool first. So with the pencil tool, looks like a pencil. If you don't see it, there's also a smooth tool and an eraser tool. We're not going to get into those. These will allow you to track your mouse movement. So as long as I click and drag my mouse around, it'll follow and recreate that line in vector format. And of course I can use my white arrow to move these around and change up the shape with it. But the pencil tool is an easy way of quickly drawing something, especially drawing it very freehand. Now there are some options to be aware of, and we've pulled these up before. Double click on these options. Let me tell you a little bit more about what they allow you to do. The fidelity and the smoothness have to deal with how smooth or rugged your line is. The higher the fidelity, the truer your line will be to how it's going to follow your movement. Does that make sense? It's easier to show you that than to say it. The smoothness is how smooth is your line going to be. So let's say I made a really smooth line. We'll bump this all the way up. And it's going to be very, well, we'll put the fidelity very, very low. Let's see what happens. Well, no, excuse me. Within very high. So high fidelity, high smoothness. Watch what happens if I make like a jagged line. Pretty good, pretty close to it. Let's say if I tried to make a smooth flowing line. Ah, that didn't get it. You see all the little loops that it didn't pick up on? It's trying to stay true to the original line that I had. It's going to smooth out the quick movements. Now if I double click it, let's bring our fidelity back down and smoothness back down as well. See what happens if I make a jagged line. It'll be a little bit smoother or not. Okay, still pretty good. A lot of these I know are going to be a little bit sharper points. It's not going to smooth out the lines. Notice that these are a little bit rounded, and these are a lot more pointed. Let's try making loops with this one. That one's much better. So knowing the Smoothness and the fidelity allows you to control how true your line is to how you're tracing it off. I usually keep it around the mid-range. I don't adjust it too much. Of course, you know, if you keep it selected and you can edit within it, if I draw a line and then I stop and I draw again, it's going to connect that line to the other one. And we saw that when you were trying to draw off the little vector people. If I move over too far, it's just going to start a new line and it's not connected to the last one. If you don't want to connect it, let's say you did want to quickly draw off a bunch of lines. I'm going to take off Edit Selected, and I start drawing several lines. Now I can easily do something like this. I can get very close to it. Whereas if I tried to do that with it selected, see what happens. Oh. Did I turn it on? Yeah, I did turn it on. Yeah. You can see some of them are starting to catch pretty close to it. There you go. Like if I tried to redraw very quickly with that one. So those are just some things to be aware of when you're using those two different lines. Here's the really fun one. It's the brush tool. The brush tool allows you to mimic a real-world type of medium. So if you're painting with a paintbrush or you're painting with a charcoal stick, this is where you can use the paintbrush to get those different ones. With the paintbrush tool, you're going to have to open your brushes palette. And it's usually on the side. I'll click and drag it off to show you this. By default, when you paint with it, it's just going to be kind of a thick line. Some other type of lines you can choose are some even thicker lines. So now when I paint, you can still see it's a vector line, but it's painting with a rounded type brush. Or you can use a calligraphic type brush. So you see it gets thick and thin. And even with these, I can use my selection tool, click on them, and drag it around, and the brush adjusts itself accordingly to that. These other ones mimic more artistic textures, in this case, like if you were drawing with the charcoal stick. So all I'm doing is clicking and dragging, and it's creating that texture along the line. And with it, I can also click on the line itself and move it around, and the shape also moves along with it. And it'll stretch it off along that one. And you can get some really fancy ones. For instance, it doesn't have to be doesn't have to look like a medium. It can be a pattern. So in this case, you can draw off this pattern, and it will follow that long line along it as well, provided it's long enough. So very, very quickly, you can draw off these lines, or you can make borders. Let's say for this one, so if I wanted to quickly draw off kind of a fancy border, ooh, that one didn't turn out too good. These borders tend to work well if you're using shapes tools. So if I drew off a shape, in this case a rectangle, then with it selected, if I clicked on this one, it'll add the border to that one as well. Or I can click on any other brush tool, and you can see the brush stroke is being applied to that vector. This is the essence of using vector art. You're telling the computer where the points are, and the computer is drawing in between it. In this case, it's drawing this shape along it as well. Have I lost everybody? Show you one more real simple thing, and then I'll let you dive into the exercises. There are more brushes that you can choose from. Here's how to find more brushes. At the very bottom left-hand corner, there are some arrows, there's artistic brushes. I want you to stay within the artistic brushes. So if you want a different calligraphic type or ink or paintbrush, let's open up the calligraphic. So if you've ever done calligraphy, you know that the shape of your nib and the angle that you hold your brush is different. So let's take the 30 point. With this one, I can click and drag, and you see it's a lot bigger, and it goes in that direction. If I choose another calligraphic brush, click and drag, this one's at a different angle, or I can use a fatter one. It's a different size from there. So this is kind of a great way, you know, write your name, be real fancy with it. Have to change up my fidelity to get it to be better from that one. If you do want to change the type of brush that you're using, so let's say you didn't like this line, you wanted to change it to a different one, you can always select it, click on it, and now you've got a different type of brush that's loaded up onto that line. Let's look at some of the other ones. So artistic, there's some ink type brushes. So these look like ink splotches, or if you were drawing with an ink pen. That one looks pretty cool. You can see very quickly it'll draw off and create that way. There are some that are a little bit transparent, so this one you can see it's not 100% black, so when I draw on top of it, you can see I can build up a value shape. Some look more like splotches. Next week we're actually going to learn how to make your own paintbrush, and we'll do a fun project with that one. Now let's do one more, just for the heck of it. Artistic. Scroll pen. Everybody wants to know what a scroll pen looks like. These are really, really fun. I like to use these on t-shirt designs. So with these you get that parallel type lines that you can create using this one. All cool? Any questions about the paintbrush? The paintbrush has the same options as the pencil does. You can double click on it. You can adjust the fidelity, the smoothness, whether you want it to be edited or not to use that one. Here's the projects that I want you to work on, or at least the exercises. And that's where these three come in. Face trace, Whatdoodle, and 2 circles. Face trace is the first one. On this one, I want you to copy this this face drawing. Who is this? David. Who did it? David? Michelangelo. Very good. Michelangelo's David. David's on one layer, so whenever you trace him off, you won't be able to select him. He's just underneath there. I want you to use the pen tool, no, excuse me, the pencil tool. We're going to change this to use there. I'm going to change this color to red so I can see it. Zooming in very close, I want you to trace off all the major portions or the major features of his face. So trace the eye, the nose, the mouth, hair, ears, everything that's on there. So let's see, I'm going to go very quickly. Usually I have one of these done beforehand. But I'm following the main contours of his face and tracing it off. And when you're finished, you'll actually have a really cool tracing. Notice I had that one selected. So maybe I need to uncheck the keep selected and edit within that selection. So now when I draw, I can draw off one particular area. Here's kind of a tip when you do a tracing of something. Vary the width of your line. Right now my stroke is at 1 point. But if I wanted to draw off at a 3 point, see if it'll work. And I'm going very quickly. The major lines of a face should be thicker. Any inside lines can be thinner to trace off. So this one, nice thick line. Lower the width of it. So if I wanted to draw a nostril, inside line. And I'm looking for any main areas. So for instance, I can see a shadow right there, so maybe I would draw a shadow line, a little crevice on top of his face. If you want to do shading, there's a couple of different things you can do. The main thing I would do is cross-hatching. So if I knew I wanted to shade in this area, I can do multiple lines that stays within that shape, and I can go across it again to make it even darker. Let's do this one real quick. Y'all go away, I'm having fun. Now I'll quickly draw off this area. It's going to be very fun getting into the little features of his hair. I want you to draw off his ear. If you want to see what your drawing looks like, open up the layers palette at the very bottom. It's usually one of the main ones on here. And click on this first little icon. Doing that will turn off that layer, and you can see what you're tracing off. The more details you add, the better your drawing will look once it's finished. And remember, change up the width of your line. So you can turn that on and off and be able to trace it off very quickly. Actually, I think I recorded a speed painting of me doing this a couple of years ago. I'll post that to Moodle so you can actually watch me do this entire painting in just a couple of seconds. You can click on this one, turn it off, and you can see what your drawing looks like once it's finished. All cool? For the other ones, 2 circles. This is where I want your imagination to be a little bit more free. I've given you 2 circles in each of these little squares. I want you to come up with some sort of composition that uses each one of these circles and only uses the tool that I'm prescribing for you. So only using the pen tool and using both of these circles, how can you come up with some sort of composition. You can overlay them, you can make up something, you can change the colors of anything, but stay within this rectangle for each one and only use, so in this case, if I want to do the pen tool, I'm just going to come up with something really quick. You get the idea? You can change up the type of lines that you want. So if I didn't want these type of lines, maybe I can go over here to my brushes, choose that brush, give it a little pointed edge. However you feel like doing it. I want to see your creativity. This is just something to get you to practice using the shapes tools, using your pen, and also using your pencil and brush tool to work within this one. I think for this one, let's see, keep that one really small. Let's choose my brush tool. Use the brush. One thing I like to use are these watercolor type brushes. With this one, I can change my stroke color to be a specific color. Doesn't have to be black. Let's choose this one, and I can paint on top of it. Oop, notice I've got my fill color turned on. Let's turn that one off. There we go. So you can create these very simple Earth at a distance type thing. Y'all be creative. Y'all getting ideas already? Okay, very simple. Practicing your pencil tool, practicing the shapes and the pen tool. Final one. This one I want you to use the pen tool only. Excuse me, not the pen tool. Pen tool or the pencil tool, whichever the instructions say. What do I say on the instructions? What do you see? Yeah. I want you to take the line that I've started and make something from it. You can change this line up, you can rotate it, you can move it around, you can change the size of it. But what do you see when you see this particular doodle? How would you finish it off? I've had people come up with different things for it. You can take it and copy it. So in my case, if I wanted to take this, let's reflect it. Let's see. So maybe I can take my, I'm going, of course, very, very quickly with this one to come up with a different type of design. Y'all can probably do a little bit better than I could. It's Queen Bee. Y'all get the idea? Play around using your pencil tool, your pen tool, coming up with some sort of design that features this particular line shape in each one. Okay? All cool? All right, I'm going to turn your computers back over to you, let you